Welcome to the Dreams Are Real podcast, where we aim to ignite the fire that allows you to unleash your greatest potential. I'm your host, Dan McPherson, and I'm on a mission to help you own your story on the way to building your ideal life. The first step toward achieving your dreams is to overcome the momentum of zero. Take a step and let that motion dispel the emotions of fear, worry, or self-doubt. No matter where you are in your life or career, only you can make that choice. The good news, you've got this. Why? Because dreams are real. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Dreams Are Real podcast. I'm your host, Dan McPherson. I am happy to have you with us for this episode. This episode is a special one to my heart because we have one of my very first clients in the Leaders Must Lead world, a friend of mine, a business manager, an educator, a department head at Dime working in the music industry studies department, and so many more things that bring value to this world. You are going to get a lot out of today, and I know that I will as well, as I do anytime I get a chance to talk to her. Steph Belcher, thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This is very exciting to me.
It's exciting to me as well. We've had a fun history, and I'm sure we'll get into just a little bit of that later. But first, I just listed, I don't know, what feels like maybe a dozen things that you do. How do you respond when other people ask what you do?
Well, I usually tell them I'm a business manager, and what that means varies depending on who I'm talking to. So if I'm talking to somebody who's already in the music business, I'll tell them that I'm a business manager, and they generally already know what that means because that's a job that exists in the music business. It's somebody that they know they're going to have to hire someday. If it's somebody outside of the music business, I'll usually tell them that I do taxes or I work with musicians, or if I'm trying to be very vague, for some reason, I'll just tell them that I work in the music industry and manage artists.
Right? So vague yet cool. Got it.
Yeah, I'm trying to make people think I'm cool and not an accountant.
Fair enough. And we'll hear a lot more about your current world and the music industry as we go forward. First, what is your personal origin story? Where does the magic of Stephanie come from?
Ooh, well, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. So, yeah, if anybody's ever been to Cleveland, you know how magical it is. I grew up as in a very musical family. I have a great grandma who was a concert pianist in New York City and New Jersey. And I took piano lessons when I was younger because my grandma and my mom both, wanted to see if I inherited the talent. And my father's family comes from Hungary and Slovakia. And so they were all members of a giant Hungarian band with every single instrument and accordion. And they were all drummers and keyboard players, and everybody sings. So music has always been a really big part of my life, and I used songs as a way to express how I was feeling when I was younger. I remember writing my grandma letters, trying to explain to her how I felt about things, and I would put song lyrics in them.
How old were you when you did that?
I don't know, 8, wow. 11 maybe, somewhere, in between the time when I knew how to write and when my handwriting got good. It was in that scratchy period. I remember it so clearly. And I just always loved music. So my mom was not a high school. My mom was a newspaper editor for 4 local newspapers, 4 different communities in Cleveland. And it was Twinsburg, Bedford, Maple Heights, and the Macedonia area, and the Northfield area in Cleveland. So that covered kind of a big area, And any time that a musician from any of those communities was featured on an album, we got a copy of the CD
Wow.
mailed to my mom's work. Yeah. And so some really cool stuff crossed our desk. And like my favorite example is the boy band O-Town. Do you remember them?
I do.
Okay. So O-Town, one of the guys that was in O-Town. So this was, if you're not familiar with O-Town, I'll give you a little bit of background. In the late 90s, boy bands were super hot. Everybody loved boy bands. And so MTV had the idea to have a reality TV show competition where you would audition to be in a boy band. And one of the winners was from Twinsburg, Ohio. So we got to write about him. We got to interview him before he played at the high school. And so it was experiences like that that gave me the bug and made me think that a career in the music industry was actually possible. And so I decided to major in journalism. I wanted to double major in journalism and music business. So I applied to schools that had good journalism and music schools, music departments. I ended up at Indiana University, went in as a journalism major, and then I discovered this degree called telecommunications.
Okay.
And telecommunications was basically media marketing, media management. So it extended beyond just journalism or just music. It was really like how to run a television show, how to do a radio station, what are sponsorships, how to make a commercial. And it was so much fun. And I just absolutely loved it. I knew from then on that I always wanted to work in music and media and technology and helping people deliver messages to the world, helping people inspire people. You know, if you give somebody a microphone and they have an inspirational message, then they might actually help make people's lives better. And that's the way that it's all kind of come together at the beginning.
So early on, you had this dream of being in the music industry as it was part of your environment, as it was part of it. It seems your soul as you're pulling out really all of these music lyrics to share, that engaging with people. You were immersed at a young age.
Yeah, yes. And I've only realized that recently. I've always known that music was really important to me, but it didn't occur to me until about the last year of my life that I just became obsessed with it at such a young age, and that I've never wanted to do anything else. Never.
It's unusual, even for the people that we've had on the podcast so far, to have someone who had a dream when they were a kid that hasn't really changed. Maybe they've taken some different paths, but their dream has been the same throughout. It sounds like yours has. Are there ways in which your dream has changed or matured as you've gotten older?
So it's really, I'm really glad that you asked me that. It's really interesting the way that it all kind of worked out, is because when I was very young, I actually went through my report card journal book that my mom had for me, where did your mom have a book for you like that or anything?
She did not. I've seen them from others,
Yeah.
but no.
You could put the class pictures in the little pocket, and you could fill out what grade it was and what year it was and what were your favorite outfits and stuff at the time. And one of the questions was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I went through, when I was young, 8 or 9, I went through the entire rest of the book and I wrote model on every single line. And I was, a year or two later, I realized I didn't want to be a model, and I was embarrassed about that. And so I crossed them all off, but it's there forever in this book that my dream was to be a model. And so it wasn't really. I was just, 8 and being goofy, but I have always wanted to be on stage. And I was told by some people that didn't have my best interests at heart, and some people who might have been a little emotionally abusive toward me, that I wasn't good enough and that I couldn't do it. I couldn't perform. Nobody would want to look at me. Nobody would want to listen to my voice. And I was discouraged to the point of, right, when you're in middle school and high school and you have to take choir, you have to take band as an elective. I would be in those things, and I remember standing on that stage and thinking, I'm not good enough to be up here. And that is one of the things that I'm currently overturning in my life and undoing. One of those things that was given to me as a fact and is actually not a fact at all. So I'm unweaving the you're not good enough, and I'm trying to get on stage. I'm trying to speak and teach and reach a lot of people from a platform with amplified sound and a microphone, and spread my message, and not just my message, but other people's messages too, your message and Rick's message, and all of our friends who are saying great things. I want to be a speaking point for them. I want to help them, tell more people their story.
Are you finding that process empowering, scary, a little bit of both?
Well, so what I'm finding is that in order to, and this is something that I know because I like Legos, in order to build something, you have to basically remove the old thing completely. And that's what I'm kind of doing with my self-esteem, really, and my value proposition to the world, is because I was told I'll just share another part of my origin story that I conveniently skipped over. I always skip over, and this is one of the things I have to stop doing. I grew up with an older brother from my dad's first marriage who didn't treat people with kindness and didn't help bring out the light in people. He had a lot of darkness inside of him, and he made it very clear that he didn't think that I was worth anything. And I believed him because he was my older brother and I thought he was my best friend. And it's only been within the last really year or two of my life that I've realized that the self-deprecating things I say about myself in my own head are in his voice. And so now that I'm identifying, I've been doing a lot of meditation lately, and I've learned how to identify thoughts as they come up as thoughts. And so when a thought comes up that says, you have an annoying voice and nobody wants to listen to you talk, I'm able to look at it and think, is that accurate? Is that real? And is that me? Is that my voice saying that? Or is that his voice from 1992 when he was just being an annoying big brother? Like, let it go. And then I just let the thought go like a balloon, biodegradable balloon floating up into the sky. And so that this whole process has, it's been really, really difficult because I've had to look really deeply inside of my own head and my own heart and basically take the whole thing apart brick by brick, literally. If you imagine my heart as a 3D Lego put together.
And I do.
Right, and right in the, you can picture that, right? Right in the very middle, there was a black piece. And that blackness was spreading and keeping me from having a whole heart and being able to be fully present for people, to be my like, I have a gift to give to the world. And that black piece in the middle of my 3D Lego heart was blocking me being able to give that gift. So I had to take every single other piece of Lego out of there, and get rid of it, and then find a new piece to put in its place. and now I'm just now kind of rebuilding the whole thing. And it's honestly, the last week has been so much easier than the previous year, that I feel like I've reached the light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm also like highly skeptical and I'm scared to say that, but yeah.
It's a powerful journey, and thank you for sharing. I think that this journey is something that many of us struggle with. We've been told things from when we were younger. We've created things on our own. We hear them in other people's voices. We hear them in the voice in our head. It's
Yeah.
the whole discussion that I've had with so many about taking their own internal voice, maybe not as much the voices they've heard from others, but their own internal voice, and naming it as an external thing and being able
Yeah.
to tell that to quiet down. It seems to pair with that a little.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
that journey is so powerful, and is so, it sounds like, so freeing as well.
Yeah, it feels freeing. It's kind of terrifying because it's everything feels new. One of the steps that I took on this journey was to quit alcohol. And working in the music business, alcohol is everywhere, and a lot of the times it's free. And it one of the tenets of the music business is that venues are there to sell alcohol and the band is the entertainment. The venue is not there to sell tickets.
Right.
The venue is there to sell concessions at every across the board, whether you're a giant theater or an opera house or whatever. So, alcohol has been a giant part of my life since the first week of college. And I didn't realize how much of myself I was numbing and how much of myself I was hiding from the world by having a couple drinks here or there, or going to networking events with a glass of wine in my hand and things like that. So um, it everything feels new now. And one of the most challenging things about finding this freedom, because your question was, it must be very freeing, and the answer is yes, it is very freeing. It feels I feel a lot stronger than I used to. I feel like I could fly where I couldn't before. I was weighed down before. But if you picture a bird flying through the sky, like, she's probably alone. And some birds fly in a flock, I'm definitely a flock bird. So this process of quitting alcohol has separated me from a lot of the old situations and the old friends that I used to see a lot and do a lot of things with. And so it's different. It's really challenging, and it's challenging in every single way, basically.
It uh, this is a struggle that so many deal with, whether with alcohol or otherwise, and there are a couple of things that are I think fascinating isn't the right word, but that really speak to me as you share. That, if it's okay, I'd like to ask a little bit more about,
Yeah.
and if not, then totally fine.
No, go for it.
The I guess the first is that you mentioned you weren't aware that you of the numbing effect that a couple of drinks was having. What was that like? Because I think if people aren't aware, they're not going to know what it is. And
Sure.
then what's, if you're open to sharing, what sparked that change?
Sure. So the numbing effect of alcohol, in my experience, is the knowledge that it's available, and the crutch of knowing that you can get through a day that you hate because you can spend the whole evening feeling nothing.
Okay.
So I liked wine. Wine was my alcohol of choice. And so um it was I just need to get to my glass of wine. I just need to get there. I just need to get there. And it was something that I could do in front of my kids. So it was fine for me to open a bottle of wine at 5 o'clock my grandma used to have a martini every single day at exactly 5 o'clock. And it was almost like I thought I was making myself be like her to do the exact same thing. Oh, 5 o'clock, time to open a bottle.
So it was another one of those voices in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And it affected me very heavily. Alcohol, I can feel it instantly. Having too much makes me violently ill. It changed me a lot. It changed my behavior and it changed my personality. It changed my temperament. It gave me really bad hangovers and headaches. It made my stomach ache all the time. I always felt like I had sour stomach. It made me forget things I had said or done or fall asleep in a way that I didn't plan. And I wasn't drinking heavily every day, but it was more of the crutch of knowing that if I had a bad day, I could have a drink and I would be fine then. And so you're just always avoiding your problems. Because if you're if you're consistently having a bad day, there's something else wrong. And if you're fixing it by having alcohol all the time, then you're just living in that. It's like you're living in quicksand and you're taking a couple steps up every time you have a drink, but then you're getting sucked back down again. And it won't be until you get rid of that numbing agent and let yourself feel the pain that you're going to be able to figure out even where it's coming from and how to fix it. As long as you keep numbing it, you're just going to stay there.
And also, if I hear your description right, it also maybe felt like you were living to that next numbing moment rather than living toward one of your goals.
Exactly. Right. And I was so caught up in the cycle of it, and like it's easy to look at somebody who drinks too much or and think, oh, they must be really depressed. They must be really anxious. And it wasn't like that at all. I was having fun. I was living my life. I was going to the playground with my kids. I was going dancing with my friends and concerts. And it was more of like, I knew I could be better. I'm a very ambitious person. And I've always known that I can be doing something huge and changing the world and speaking on big stages. And I've always had that ambition. But the fact that I wasn't doing it made me need to numb myself because I didn't want to feel disappointed in myself when I felt like there was nothing I could do about it. I had 2 young kids. I still do. And and I didn't think that I could go travel and that I could make something of myself because they needed me at home. And so if they needed me at home, then I need to put my ambition away. So I stuffed it into a bottle. You know what I mean?
And so now you've spent this last period of time removing different barriers that allow you to get closer to your dream.
Yeah. Yes.
So your dream may not have changed over the years significantly, the end result, that North Star, if you will, but your journey toward it has taken some different directions, and now you're getting past the speed bumps, maybe.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So as you moved forward and you're taking these steps, what does the dream look like now? What are you aiming at? What are you hoping for? What do you picture looking forward into the future?
I have a very clear picture of myself standing on a big stage and having a bunch of people cheering and feeling really good about themselves and generating a ton of positive energy that they're going to leave with and go change the world a little bit. I really want to inspire people to support musicians. I want to inspire companies and regular individuals to actively become patrons, intentional patrons of music and art. And there's a whole bunch of different ways to do that. But it starts with the musicians themselves. And so my dream is to use my voice and amplified sound and a microphone to help musicians make more money and have a better quality of life. I would really, really, really like to lower the suicide rate in the arts culture. Musician, it touches every single artist in the whole entire world. It touches every single person in the whole entire world. But suicide is just really devastating to a lot of people, and I think that if we can help musicians realize their value in the world and their magical gift, their magic gift, then yeah, that's what my dream looks like. But I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there. I just know that I'm going to have to talk a lot.
Talking a lot is fine, and your story, your journey is a powerful one to share, and I'm confident it'll motivate that change. It's a change that resonates in my world as well. Creatives, musicians, or otherwise, are so crucial to the future progress and innovation of the world. I believe personally that creatives, including musicians, are going to be a huge part of what inspires generational change and helps to solve some of the biggest world problems, whether it be poverty or trafficking, or whether it be hunger or suicide, and seeing reductions in those rates. It comes from the hearts of the creators. So I'm so excited to hear of and learn more deeply of your mission for that. It's certainly a very powerful one.
Yeah, that's why we get along so well.
Yes. As you think going forward, do you consider yourself an entrepreneur at this point?
Yes, absolutely. I feel more strongly than ever that I am not an employee.
Been down that road, not for you.
Yeah,
All
yes,
right.
I'm just really independent, and I need to do something different every day. And I used to think that was a bad thing, but I have recently learned that it's fine. And
Right. It is fine. You can be you. In fact, you will be far more successful if you are you than if you try to be someone else. It sounds like that's one of the biggest
yeah.
lessons that you're pulling out of all of this.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I got my first job at Dairy Queen in 1997 when I was 15 and a half. My dad had to drive me there. And I have been an employee ever since. And I've taken some breaks where I couldn't find jobs, but the past year has made it crystal clear to me that my story can only be told on my own terms.
There's some analogy that's running through my head of you started by making dessert and now you're creating the dessert of your career, but I can't quite pull it together. So
So I used to make ice cream cakes. It was so fun. That was my job. I would go in early Saturday morning and I would fill all the ice cream cake orders for the day. That was great.
did you do all the writing on the cakes too?
I did some, yeah. Yeah.
I worked in a bakery, and one of the things that they worked very hard to have me never do was be the guy who wrote on the cakes.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked
Uh,
it.
that's great. As you think about your life as a creative and your more recent life in an entrepreneurial mindset, what would you say is your defining moment in one of those spaces?
I thought about this question. I heard you ask Joan this question, and I don't think I've had it yet. But if I have to have defined my life up to this point, it would be having my kids, because it took me becoming a mom to realize that I'm a caregiver, I think. That that might not be the exact word that I'm looking for, but I I love taking care of people, and my children helped me realize that, and I use a lot of the same tenderness with my clients that I do with my kids. And it's not like I had one client use it in a derogatory way a couple of weeks ago. He asked if I was going to keep momming him. And I laughed and I was like, I can't really turn it off. And I said, if it makes you uncomfortable, you could get a guy to work for you instead of me. It's that realization of like, I am a mom through and through. I'm a mom who runs. I'm a mom in the music business. I'm, you know, I'm a mom at PTA. And, but as far as my career, I think you guys will just have to watch and see because it's about to happen.
Maybe this year, this next 6 months contains your defining moment, your inflection point for future growth. I believe that it does, and I'm excited to see it as well.
Thanks.
On your journey, what's the biggest risk that you've ever had to take, and how did it turn out?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. One of the biggest risks that I've had to take as an entrepreneur and as somebody that works in the music business is I'm basically combining two different fields that I worked in that were completely unrelated. And I'm creating something that's entirely new out of those two fields. And there's nobody else out there that's talking about what I'm talking about. And so a little bit of backstory on what I am talking about is that the music business used to be completely dominated by the major labels. And then when Napster came around and home recording equipment became affordable, people could start making records at home and distributing them on the internet. And that was in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. After MySpace became mainstream, after CD Baby started doing online distribution, and then when YouTube and Spotify and SoundCloud allowed you to distribute your music, that created a new industry of being able to release music without a major label. It didn't happen before those three things happened at the same time. And so before about 2012, there was no need for accountants or bookkeepers or business managers to work with independent musicians because they didn't have any money and they didn't have record deals. And when they got a record deal, the label introduced them to a business manager who was a big time CPA and had a big firm in LA or Nashville or New York City. And that big CPA firm did everything. And so independent musicians in 2018 made $643 million just from downloading alone, from streaming and downloading. And the industry is growing. That independent musician that can record at home, distribute their own music, and then make money from it in a variety of different ways is growing exponentially every single year. And what comes behind that is the infrastructure to support these people. The accountants, the bookkeepers, the business managers, the tax preparers, the sponsorship people. And I could list off 30 different people that these independent musicians need to help them. And so I believe that none of this can happen. This whole industry of DIY is suffering because the musicians haven't been taught how to manage their money. The ones that have been taught to manage their money are succeeding and they are doing well. And those are the ones that you know about and hear about. But there are a lot of people who can't make it happen for one reason or another. And so they quit, they sell their instruments, they go take a day job, they sit in a cubicle at Quicken for the next 30 years of their life. And that skill that they had, that magic gift, gets buried under IRS debt or credit card debt or, every different kind of debt. And that whole thing could have been avoided if we had given them education in the place of doing it for them after they get signed to a major label.
So for you, it sounds like the biggest risk has been stepping out into an industry that didn't really exist.
Yeah.
And you love being part of the flock, but you had to fly alone a little bit, stand out there and say, plant a flag and say that this is what's needed. And I will be a voice. I will be a voice, maybe in the wilderness, but for the many.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's exactly it. I do feel very alone. As far as I know, I only know of one other CPA. I'm not a CPA, but I know of one other person in the state of Michigan who files taxes for musicians. She is a CPA. Her name is Michelle, and she's in Grand Haven, and she's fantastic. But we're the only two people. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of musicians in Michigan alone that need to file taxes.
So it sounds like a lot of people need help. There are a small number of people to do it, and
Yes.
you're willing to be that voice. That is a pretty big risk. Jumping out and saying, "Hey, I'm going to go the other direction." That said, most great successes in the world come from seeing the crowd running one direction and that person runs the other. So kudos to you for that.
Thanks.
Along the way, what's the biggest lesson you've learned, or is that it?
No, actually, I thought about this question ahead of time too, and the biggest lesson that I have learned actually came from you, and it was not to prejudge people and to be my authentic self, because you never know what kind of a connection you're going to make with somebody if you just open up your heart to them, and that has helped me so much. And then another thing that I picked up that you really drove home right when I was getting ready to start my previous entrepreneurial project, Greenbelt Marketing, was not to overpromise and underdeliver. And that's something that I didn't even realize I was doing. But once I did, I was like mortified that it was a thing that had a name and a definition, and I was guilty of it. And it made me realize what a people pleaser I tend to be, and how I just want to say, yes, I can do that. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, we can do it all. And that doesn't work ever for anybody. And so you know, by realizing that that was even a thing, I was able to find strategies and devices and systems to avoid that. And it's basically set up the structure of what I'm about to launch, because you helped me see I start really small, start really, really small. And then if they buy in, give them something that's just a little bit bigger and doesn't even take any more time. And then if they buy in, give them the next level. And as you keep growing, you're never under delivering. You're always giving them exactly what they expect to receive, because you're presenting all the information. One of the things that I think about, you told me a lot, is an objection isn't a no, it's a request for more information. And I think that's really super powerful, because it helps me get all of the information available to the people before I even need to talk to them. So they're going to come in and they're going to ask me, what do I need to do to set up my bookkeeping? And I could tell them word for word, here's all the things that you need to do. Or I can provide all that information beforehand, and then they can take care of it. And when they get to me, they feel like I've already given them so much value. I over-delivered. I didn't overpromise. And they come to me with the information that they need, and we're able to hit the ground running. And they don't have any objections. They don't have any questions. They're just ready to go. So that's something that you directly talked to me about and taught me. And it's the thing that's helped me the most out of everything, for sure.
Well, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing. I'm thankful to have a small part to play in that. And for those listening, no, I did not prompt her for that. So
Oh no,
I'm happy to have connected powerful lessons for sure.
yeah.
And there's one that's wrapped in there that you shared at the end that I would like to put a button on, which is this: anything that we're presenting in life, anything we do is a form of a sales presentation. It's a persuasion. And more so, the purpose of any presentation that we do is to eliminate objections before they occur, which is what you are doing. You've taken those other lessons and made that happen so that you answer the questions before they are asked. Very good.
Yeah, I love it. It makes everything so much easier.
Along the same lines, and maybe one of those fits in there, what's something that you wish you'd known when you started? I speak to so many entrepreneurs who say, I've learned this lesson and it's great. But if I'd known this one thing way back when in my life or in my entrepreneurial journey, whatever it may be, it would have made everything easier. Is there something like that for you?
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. I could name 5 right now off the top of my head. I wish I had known I was allergic to gluten, but that's probably not what you're looking for.
No, but it's pretty powerful though. And in my
Yeah,
house, that goes a long way since
yeah,
my wife is
yeah.
allergic to gluten as well.
I wish I had known that I didn't hate math, because I heard a family member, I don't even remember, say that they hated math. And so I repeated it and I decided I hated math. And I didn't pay attention in math and I didn't try, but I don't hate math. I actually really like it. And I wish I had known that. But that's, that's a really tough one, because how far back do we need to go here? I'd say I wish I had known that it was going to take a while and that was okay, because I was an ambitious 19-year-old and I wanted to be a CEO by the time I was 25. And I wish I had a little bit more patience for the process, because I would have saved myself a lot of anxiety. There's no time limit on your goals. There's no, I have to be successful by the time I'm 40. I have to have this by this time or this date or this moment in history. It's all made up garbage, because the universe has perfect timing and you're going to get exactly what you need at exactly the right moment, as long as you make your heart open to it. If you're shut off, you might be missing the signs. But if your heart is open to change or possibilities, then they're going to come to you exactly when you need them. And it took me a really, really long time to learn that.
One of the most powerful lessons that I've learned and wish I had learned far, far younger is the difference between patience and eagerness. I have often for many years been an impatient person. And what I've learned in recent years is that eagerness, the desire to improve, the desire to get better, the desire to move forward is good, but that, and it is generally focused on the positive, but that impatience, the sense that I have to be there now, the sense that I've already earned it, the sense that I'm already there, tends to be focused upon entitlement and more selfishness and inward. That's a distinction that I wish I had learned much earlier in my career.
Yeah, I really like that. I think when you were saying that, I was thinking that impatience is almost like a fear of missing out, because you think you're supposed to be doing something different and that they are all doing it without you. And impatience, a lot of times, I think, comes from a need to hurry and to get through the next thing. And when you're always hurrying to the next thing, you're not present where you are. And that's something that I learned from my kids, from watching my kids, because I have 2 kids who they'll stop and smell every single rose. And after a while, I just gave in, what are you going to do?
Right.
And I started to think, maybe I should live more like them and just slow down a little bit. And that things got better then.
So many lessons we can learn from our kids. We
Yeah.
talk so often about the things we teach our kids. I swear I learn more from my son than he might learn from me in many ways.
Yeah.
including, for what it's worth, the statement when I was younger that I heard of, I hope you have kids like you someday.
Yeah.
Learning some painful lessons from that as well, maybe.
Yeah.
As you walk through your journey and you think about other entrepreneurs who are young or maybe considering becoming an entrepreneur, what do you believe is the most valuable characteristic that they need to be successful?
I think an entrepreneur is going to find more success if they feel comfortable being in a position of leadership, and if they are able to work alone or in an independent fashion. It's difficult for entrepreneurs to be under anybody else's uh, rule. I don't know. I feel like entrepreneurs tend to be very independent, and they want to carve a new path toward a problem. The reason that I'm an entrepreneur is because I see a need in the marketplace, and that need is that the musicians in America need to know more about how the money structure works within their own industry. They have to understand how to manage their money and what the financial language is. And I see there aren't a lot of other people talking about that. And if I was going to sit around and wait until other people started talking about it, then I would be behind. I would be late. So the independence that I feel in being the only person who's really talking about this, it motivates me forward, and I feel driven by my desire to be a leader in that field. So I
So,
think,
so independence is the answer.
yeah, I think independence and like an ability to be a leader, which they might go hand in hand. I don't want to. I entrepreneurs need to be able to work on a team too. It's not like you should be a lone wolf, a completely independent lone wolf in the field of entrepreneurialism, because that doesn't work either. It's more of like, if you're going to wait for other people's approval, or if you aren't comfortable forging into a new industry or a new field or creating an entirely new idea, then you might have a hard time.
What I'm hearing, if I'm correct, is that we need to be able to function well as part of a team, and in fact, maybe even be a good follower from a process standpoint, but that from a vision and a connection and a willingness to take risks and move forward, that we need to be a leader and have a mindset of independence.
Yeah, yes, yes. And problem solving too.
Right. All of these things, right? So many pieces that get wrapped up into that characteristic of independence with vision, or a focused independence, are important. Are
Yeah.
there any particular resources that have made it easier for you to chase your dreams? Any books, any movies, any particular people that you would point our audience to, that you say, hey, if you want to pursue being a great entrepreneur or being super successful in the business world, here are things that would be of great help to you. And we can link them in the show notes if you have any.
Yeah, I'm sort of a junkie on this stuff. Um, I just thought of an even better answer to the most important trait of entrepreneurs is the uh, the need to constantly be seeking more education or learning. Um,
Leaders are learners. So
yeah,
I'm with you.
yeah, yeah. And so I'm sort of constantly absorbing a lot of these resources that you're asking about. My current obsessions are women, Brene Brown and Marie Folio.
I love Brene Brown.
I just think she is amazing. And the way that she uses words to communicate ideas, and the way that she teaches, she's a really good teacher.
Any particular book by her, if you were going to pick one out?
Well, I'm reading Daring Greatly right now, but I haven't read her new one yet. I think it's called Into the Wilderness, and I think I think that there's a lot of magic in that one.
Well,
But
we'll link to Daring Greatly, and then people will be able to easily find the others. I'm a huge fan of her discussion of vulnerability and courage,
yeah,
and all of the pieces there for sure. And
yeah,
the
yeah.
other person you mentioned was who?
Her name is Marie Folio, and she's an entrepreneurial coach. So she has this program called the B School, and it teaches business to creatives. So a lot of photographers, web designers, young women who want to be creative and own their own businesses turn to her to see how to structure everything. And I've been watching a lot of her shows on YouTube. She has a thing called Marie TV, and she's really inspiring. I also really like Rachel Hollis. I'm on a really big Rachel Hollis kick right now. I think she's so fun, and she's been through a lot of the same kind of traumatic stuff that I have and that a lot of my friends have, and so a bunch of things that just blow my mind. If you read her book, it's called Girl Wash Your Face. You can read about some of the things that happened in her life. I don't want to
Right.
take her words away from her because the way that she expresses it is really, really great. But she has been encouraging me through her books and her live streams and everything to be authentic and share my story and own my pain and be okay with the fact that I had some trauma early on, and that's okay. I can get over it, stuff like that. So I read both of her books twice. Yeah.
Sounds very empowering. And you have shared, I know in the past with me, books about the music industry
Yeah.
that you found super helpful as well.
Yeah, my friend Ari Herstand is about to release the second edition of his book. It's called How to Make It in the New Music Business, and it is amazing. He takes the old industry and flips it completely on its head. He talks about what real people are doing right now to actually make money in the industry. He talks about creating compositions for Netflix and Hulu. He talks about live streaming, house parties, playing colleges, all these different income streams that don't work if you are just focused on getting a traditional record label deal. So that second edition comes out on November 4th, and people can order it anywhere, and it's
Yeah,
awesome.
we'll link to it in the show notes as well.
Great.
That'll, and I've read the earlier edition. It is powerful. It is clear, easy to
Yeah.
understand, and gives you a solid plan. I use pieces from that as I'm coaching some of the musicians that I work with as well, and I point them that direction as well as a couple of others. So thanks for sharing that. Those
Yeah,
are
he's great.
those are all great resources. In beginning to wrap up this part of our conversation, how do you feel when others cite you as an example that dreams are real?
I'm just now learning how to get over imposter syndrome. So my gut reaction to that is that I don't believe them. If they came up to me and said, "Dream, you're doing great. You're living your dream. That's amazing. Dreams are real." I would say, "No, I'm not, but I am." And so it's almost like a growing moment for me to even start thinking like that. And I'm kind of like, I don't know, I it still feels surreal at this point, but it's true because I decided I wanted to work in the music business when I was in high school, and that's all I've ever done aside from doing taxes at H&R Block for one season. I have worked in the music business consistently since 1998, and not everybody can say that. So my dream is real, and it it there's no denying it anymore.
20 plus years of working in your dream industry, of leading down a new and interesting path, of being now an educator and a business manager and stepping forward and leading into different classes and changing lives. That sounds pretty solidly dreamlike to me.
Yeah. Sounds cool when you say it. It's like, whose life is he talking about?
I get that for sure. And I also get the who is that? What are you talking
Yeah.
about? I share some of the same struggles and some of the same feelings with that. As we think about the things that we've done, we also start to realize all the many ways in which we are fortunate, or even that we could be fortunate in the future, which leads us to our fortunate five.
Yay.
Right. Are the five questions that we end every episode with. First, what is the most exciting or adventurous thing that you've ever done?
Ooh, I like adventure. So I decided to follow my favorite band to Europe in the
Your
year
favorite
2000.
band being
Oh, Humphreys McGee. Humphreys
Humphreys
McGee.
McGee. Okay.
Yes, they are a progressive rock band originally based in Chicago, and they play really long songs with lots of different orchestral hard rock sections. They sound really good to me, and they have a really, really incredible drummer. So if you like drums, you should check out Humphreys McGee's drummer, Chris Myers. And so they booked a European tour. They were going to play 7 shows over 11 days in 6 different countries.
And when was this?
This was in March of 2006 is when we left. And we
Okay, I
got
thought this might have been like last month and I was just missing
Oh, no. No,
it.
no, no. It's been a while since I've been to Europe.
Got it.
Yeah, so I just bought a plane ticket and I went to Europe with a few of my friends. You know, we didn't know each other as well at the beginning as we do now, but it was incredible. And then as like a little side trip from that, I flew to Geneva, Switzerland, and I took a bus to Chamonix, France, and I went snowboarding in the French Alps by myself.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool. I stayed at a hostel and there was nobody else there, so I got the whole giant room to myself, and it had this amazing balcony, and I got to snowboard down it was called Les Brevants, and it was on the other side of the valley from Mont Blanc, which is a really famous peak in the Alps. It was really, really high up there. But it was really cool. I pushed my limits. I made some big mistakes. I spent way, way too much money, and didn't realize that nobody was going to speak English in the entire country of France.
And I take it you didn't speak the local
Oh no,
language
I
there?
didn't. No, I don't know. I don't even know how to say I don't speak French in French. Yeah, no, it was kind of crazy.
It led
I
to
don't
some
know.
interesting communication struggles, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough.
Both exciting and adventurous. It sounds like an amazing journey.
Fun.
What is something that you wish you were good at but aren't yet?
Playing the piano. I would love to just sit down and be able to just play you a piano song.
That would be amazing. I have zero musical talent. Singing, playing, I'm really not allowed in those worlds. Speaking from stage, I'm in. Give me thousands
Yeah.
of people. Make me play one tiny little thing, not so much. I was, as it turns out, actually asked to leave band by the director of the band in 6th grade. So you have
Oh
to be
no.
pretty bad when
Yeah.
you're 3 months into band and they have your parents in and ask you to leave. Do
Wait,
you
I have questions.
Sure.
We'll talk later.
Uh, oh yes, it was that was a sad moment, but I have to tell you, from what I had been showing them, they weren't wrong. Uh,
Yeah. For a lot of us, our musical talent is in our ears,
right,
and we are listeners. And there's a need for us. If there were no listeners in the world, nobody would listen to what the musicians made.
right.
So I had to kind of come to grips with that. That happened early on in my journey, but I had to just be okay with the fact that if I listen to a well-produced album through quality headphones, I can pick out little nuances like
Hmm.
auxiliary instruments added in or key changes or an extra layer of harmonized vocals, and noticing that stuff means that I can have a deeper level of conversation with my clients, and they really appreciate that. That's one of the things I think that musicians like about me is I'll listen to a song and I'll be like, hey, my favorite part of that song was when you changed keys as you started talking about this different lyrical topic. I thought that was really effective. And they'll be like, thank you. I added that in at the end and it really brought the whole song together. And it's awesome that you noticed that. And so the fact that I can't perform, it's like I'm just beating myself up over something I can't change. And I got over that. I had to.
That's so cool. I've had to get over it in in a variety of ways as well. Moving to one of my favorite topics, as you well know, food. What is the best meal or food experience you've ever had?
I had sushi in Portland, Oregon, and it was incredible. It was so fresh, and I've never had sushi that good since. I don't even know
Do you
what
have
it
a
was
particular, I
called.
was gonna say, do you have a particular type
Oh,
that you favor or?
no, no. Well, see, part of that experience was that I would have said I liked the plain cucumber roll,
Okay.
the spicy tuna, the simple stuff, but they just brought out all of the sushi and it was all so good. And I tried things I never would have tried, and it was all incredible and fresh and so delicious. So there's something special about West Coast sushi.
Fair enough. Sushi is sadly for me the one type of food that I don't have anything within it that I have found that I can enjoy. But my guests, their favorite meal 3/4 of the time is sushi. So I have an immense respect for it,
Yeah.
and for the people who enjoy it. Some of my favorite people in the world, that's their favorite food.
Yeah, good. See, I think if you had a bad sushi experience, then it's hard to come back from that.
I didn't. I had
Ah,
I was taken to what my friends have told me is amazing, but I'm super sensitive to texture, so
oh
that
yeah.
may be a piece of it for me.
Yeah, definitely.
You've traveled a bit. What is your dream travel destination? Where have you not yet been that you look and say, I want to be there?
Hmm. Everywhere. Do you remember the show Carmen Sandiego and how she would just
Where in
yeah,
the world is Steph Belcher? Is
yeah,
that it?
yeah. I really, really want to tour the whole southeastern hemisphere. I really want to explore Africa, Seychelles, Morocco, Egypt, um, Israel. And it's tough to get there. And then I would absolutely love to see all of Asia, like Southeast Asia, Bali,
Well,
Australia.
you may get your chance. We may be putting together a trip to Bali for a group next
Ooh.
year. So we'll come back to you on that. Bali
All
was
right.
incredible, and for all of my friends in Southeast Asia, help me draw Steph there. We'll get it done. We have
I,
we're
I'm I'm
many of the
ready.
listeners of the podcast live in Southeast Asia.
Hi. I've heard it's really cool.
It is. So that's great. Lots of fun places to go. Now looking forward and thinking, I'm curious as to your take on this. What do you hope or believe will be the most exciting invention of the next 30 years?
Hmm. The most exciting invention. I would like to think that it has something to do with music, but I'm gonna say automated cars or I mean, people think of them as self-driving cars. I actually have this theory that self-driving cars are going to render driving illegal because it'll be human error that causes all the problems. And we're going to live in this big self-driving grid system where there's just cars to take you everywhere that you want to go. Um, it'll be like the Jetsons kind of thing.
Maybe it's the next next stop before the Star Trek transporters come into play.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely going to help us get to space. I have a friend who's working on a rocket ship that can travel at 100,000 feet because it's unmanned. And so it can get organs from one continent to another in a shorter amount of time for organ donations.
That's
So that would be
incredible.
cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would be kind of cool.
The future looks amazing and involves transportation of some way or another, and the
Mhm.
ability to leverage that to save and change and improve lives. I love it.
Yeah.
I have greatly appreciated having you here. As we wrap up, is there a certain thought or message that you would like to leave with our audience?
Hmm. Yeah, I want everybody to know that they're valuable and that they have a special gift that lives inside of them that people keep asking for on a regular basis, and they're giving it away either for free or for y- less than they could be getting from it, and that tapping into that special gift and uncovering the different ways that you can help change the world starts by accepting the fact that it's there and that it is valuable. And that's a process that I'm only just now getting used to. And I wish I had done it sooner. So if you feel in your heart like you have something special to give, you do. And if people keep asking you to give that gift, find a way to do it because we need it. We need it from you, and the world needs your gift.
It's a beautiful sentiment. As we wrap up, how can our audience find you? What are you working on? Where should they look for you? Where can they engage and connect?
Sure. I'm releasing a course called Business Management for Musicians, and it's going to instruct emerging artists on how to set up their businesses, how to operate them effectively, and how to have sustainable profitability to where you're not paying too much in tax, you're getting paid, your contractors are happy, and you're saving money, paying off debt, and growing your business year over year. So that's going to be available on several different online course platforms, and they'll all be linked back to my website, which is stephbelcher.com. That's going to have a blog and podcasts on it, and you'll be able to find all the information that you need about how to start a profitable music business.
Great. And if you guys haven't already, go to that website, check it out. Look for Steph as she not just begins, but continues to make waves in the world, particularly in the way the music world is perceived and run. Steph, you are doing incredible things. I'm excited for your future, and I know the audience will be. Thanks again for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun. It's always great to talk to you, and I I really believe in the things that you're doing and the strategies that you're helping people implement. You've taught me so much. For those of you who don't know, Dan was my first coach when I decided to become an entrepreneur a couple years ago. And I didn't know what I was doing at all. And he helped me find a path, and just such a helpful individual. I've referred several people to him now, and they're all happy, and everything's awesome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I look forward to a part 2 a year from now to celebrate your successes.
Oh, that'll be so great. I'm looking forward to that.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us on the Dreams Are Real podcast. If anything we've said has inspired you to dream bigger, live more boldly, or move closer to your ideal life, please reach out and let us know. And also be sure to share this episode with a friend. We would be honored if you would like, subscribe, or leave a review for our show on your favorite podcasting platform. And for more discussion of this episode and all things related to the Dreams Are Real podcast, and to receive your free download of Dan's Defining Your North Star training, please join our Dreams Are Real community on Facebook. Until next time, be amazing and keep crushing it.